Hallelujah. When that man touched me, I left my body. I can't explain to you how it happened. My name is Patrick Calabok from New York, USA.
My name is Allison. I'm from New York, USA. The first time I've ever heard of Pastor John, my husband had been following him for quite a while.
Well, on YouTube, I was just crying out to the Lord because I was at a place in my life where I needed a breakthrough. I needed something to change. I had been going to church since I was a little boy, and I hit a place, it was like an iron wall, and I was being attacked from a place that I couldn't see. I didn't know how to get out, how to get around, how to get under. I questioned at times, is it me? Is it my fault? Am I doing something wrong? But in my cries to the Lord, I was searching YouTube one day, and I came across the video of Papa John. The Lord said, listen. And as I watched this video, it was a short clip, 23 minutes maybe, and I was glued instantly. I was so moved by what I heard, but it was like I had known him for a long time. To put it into words, it was like I was born to meet this man. I couldn't explain it. There'd been other men of God in my life for seasons and times, but when I saw him, instantly there was a spiritual connection, and I had to eat everything I could find. So I stayed in my studies sometimes watching hours of different videos and going back and searching and finding songs and just immersing myself in all the teachings that were online.
I didn't know what he was following, but he was really excited all the time.
I got to a place where I said, I have to meet him. I saw a vision of me meeting him. I didn't know how it was going to take place, so I went to get a passport. I got a passport. I started figuring out, how do I get to South Africa? What's a plane ticket look like? And in my endeavors to come here, I was in my office one day and the Lord told me, open the channel. When I opened up to the subscribed YouTube channel, it said, Pastor John Anosike coming to Atlanta, Georgia. That you can't get any closer than that. He's on my soil. So without hesitation, I bought plane tickets, booked a hotel room. Then I told my wife, you're coming with me. We're going to this place.
You know, out of support, I said, okay, I'll go with you and see what it's all about.
We got to this place. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know a soul when I was there. But the Lord gave us favor and opened doors all the way, the whole time. We ran into 2 accidents on the way there. One happened right in front of us. But the Lord got us there safely. We were there right on time. But when we opened the doors, there was hundreds, thousands of people.
And I really didn't know what to expect when I first got there, but I knew it was different. I knew there was a huge spiritual shift going on. And
then Usher came out of the blue, never saw me a day in his life. He said, follow me, walked me all the way up to the front. So when I sat there in the corner, I knew the Lord showed me I was going to meet this man right there. And this was a prayer conference. This wasn't for laying on of hands or deliverance or anything like that. He took the floor and spoke for a good maybe hour, maybe 2 hours. And when he went to walk past me, he stopped and stood right in front of me. And I put my hands up in reverence because I'm telling you, when he stood in front of me, it was like a giant standing behind him. So I lifted my hands in reverence, and with my eyes closed, I heard his voice say, no, not like that, like this. And without opening my eyes, I saw my hands out in front of me. So I put my hands out in front of me, and the Spirit of the Lord said, receive. Hallelujah. When that man touched me, I left my body. I can't explain to you how it happened. I can tell you I seen a bright light, and I was there so quick. and a tongue started coming out of my mouth. I had spoken tongues prior, but the tongue that was coming out of my mouth, I never heard in my own language, my own sound of my own voice.
Sahila Epatosh.
And I heard his voice. He said, I'm sending you to the realm of tongues.
For thou shalt go into the realms of tongues. The realm of tongues. The realm of tongues of fire.
He said, out of thy belly shall flow rivers of living water.
Out of thy belly shall flow rivers of living waters.
In the conference, I saw things I've never heard of before. I was educated in such a great way. It was so deep, it was so spiritual, and it was followed and backed up by the Word of God.
That night, when I went to go to sleep, I had a vision. And the Lord took me to a place. He showed me 3 bodies. He said, this is man. I seen a physical body. I seen a spirit, and I seen a soul. They were hovering and turning. He showed me, he began to explain to me the 3-dimensional man. Never heard this before. He said there's a tongue to each body, which I understood there's a language that unlocks. I didn't know what it meant, but I was caught up in that vision through the night. I woke up in the morning, I said, something happened to me. I never had an experience like this before.
I left Atlanta
It is the month
on
of
fire
brokenness.
with fresh oil, fresh fire, and I was really excited to even start implementing some of the things that I was learning. And ever since then, it's like my life has been changing. I don't know how to explain it. My just spiritual growth.
Ever since that day, something happened to me. Things started manifesting. I would be in my prayer room and I would just be in another realm. And as I began to study and watch his videos, he started talking about warring in the loins, in the realm of your loins and your genetics.
The first war is to enter the realms of chromosome, enter the realm of genetics, enter the realm of your bloodline, enter the realm of your DNA. Because principalities are demons that are responsible to destroying, to disforming, to engrafting influences, the demonic afflictions in the human chromosomes.
My father died when I was 42. I'm 42 at the time. And I said, Lord, this man was supposed to be serving you, but he got caught up in different deceptions and he ended up dying at a young age, not serving the Lord, caught up in ties with the mafia and people that you don't want to be connected to. I said, Lord, maybe I'm being fought from something that happened back then and I don't understand how it works. One day in prayer, as I began to cry out to the Lord, all of a sudden I'm in another realm. I'm in another place, and it's a huge expanse, a huge area. And I see Pastor John there. He lifted up his right arm and a portal opened, a white glowing portal opened, and there was a cord that came out of that portal and connected right to me and pulled me in the portal. I was moving at a speed I can't even tell you, moving through this portal. And I come to another place, and I know I'm not moving through space, I'm moving through time. And I came as it slowed down, and he makes the sound, it's exactly how it is. As I slowed down, I came out of this portal, and I came through the ceiling of a hospital room. When I came down into the room, there was a man in a hospital bed. Pastor John was walking right with me. He was over my right shoulder. He walked me over to the bed. When I looked in the bed, my father was lying in a hospital bed. I was there in 1996. Although it's 2024, he took me back And as I began to see this man laying in a hospital bed, there was 2 contracts that were laying in his lap. I looked at the one contract and I started to see his name be etched away. And in blood, my name was written over this contract, and the contract disappeared. Right at that time, I heard the machine go flatline. The body he was gone. And 2 nurses came into the room. Pastor John put his hand on my right shoulder. It's time. I left. I went right back through the portal. I came into awareness in my office. I spoke to Papa about that a little bit afterward, but he told me that the altar and the throne of the family was signed over to me. When May conference was gonna come to Rochester, New York, I was so excited. That's 45 minutes from my home, my hometown where I live. So, and it came at the perfect time. We put together everything we needed to be there. Even though we lived so close, we booked a hotel room just so we could come early, stay late, and just kind of be immersed in that time frame. We went there to Rochester. That conference was just absolute fire. As soon as Pastor John took the floor, I knew right then this is going to be a life-changing experience. There was just like a electricity in the atmosphere. There was a vibration that my spirit was in tune with, and I knew it had life-altering electricity inside of it. So I was captivated right out of the gate. And then I believe it was Friday night. Oh my goodness. The presence of the Lord came in that place, and it was power. It was power. And my wife had experienced a pretty incredible encounter.
Pastor John said, angels have just arrived. They will be handing out scrolls.
I saw yellowish, dark yellowish scroll with a white robe on it. They are holding it. It looks more like gold. So I was looking there, they are stationed in different sections, about to dispense and give the scrolls.
And I did not expect to be one of the privileged selected few to be receiving one of these scrolls.
Somebody say fire!
I've never been laid out on the floor like that ever before. My spirit shot up into the sky, and I saw beautiful scenery just up in the heavens. That's all I can describe it as, with beautiful colors. And I saw this gigantic angel so far in front of me. The wingspan was huge. It was like the size of a bridge. The wingspan was so big, and it had a scroll in its hand. And I saw him flying towards me. He was holding the scroll out, and he was getting closer and closer and closer. And he brought the scroll, and it hit my mouth. And I felt it go down my throat. And I ingested the scroll, and just the words, just different tongues started coming out. And as I was reading, the scroll opened, and I saw letters, and they were words, and the sentences started growing on the scroll, and they glowed, and they just glowed in me, and it's in my belly now.
When Papa was talking about the throne of the family and what he was speaking on, when he was walking past me in the spirit, I saw electricity, bright white, come directly out of him and hit me in my right leg, and it coursed all the way up my leg through my whole entire body, and a roar came out of me like I've never heard before. And I was taken to a height, and when I came through a bright light, I was taken to a height where I was roaring, and I saw a lion. Every time his paw moved to move forward, when his paw went out, he was taking territories, and then he would roar, and then his other paw would come, and when it landed, he was taking another territory, and he would roar. And from that point, on his last roar, he turned right into a flame of eagle and went even higher. And up from this soar, that eagle looked down and could see everything clear. There was enemies, there was pathways to be trodden, there was just every single thing. It could be seen from this height. And I never had a vision like that before, but I know the significance of that. The Lord was showing me, this is where you're going, and this is where I'm taking you to. And so the thought of being connected here just became a secondary, like breathing air. There's no question. This is where I belong. And the Lord did a spiritual transformation that weekend. And I knew I had been transplanted. It was nothing I asked for. This had already been spoken of before time began. And I was coming into alignment with the time that was spoken by the Father. And I had been privileged enough to have a one-on-one meeting with Pastor John before we left that conference at the end. And I went up and we sat down, and the things that I heard were exactly what was happening in my spirit and exactly what I had seen.
And then after that conference, I was again on fire, just full of oil, just so excited. And again, it was a life-changing experience for me. My life has not been the same.
When we left that day, I told Papa, I'll see you in Africa for the ministers' conference. I'm sure he hears those things all the time, and it's nothing that I wanted to impress him about, but it was in my spirit, be there. So we did whatever it took. We flew from New York to South Africa.
And I can tell you, I never in my life would have thought I'd be coming to Africa to see a man of God. But here I am. We went to the Pastors and Ministers Conference. Again, just another great experience, so full of power, so full of education. I did have an encounter.
The presence of the Lord came to me, and I had an experience at the altar, and then Papa John called me up.
Pastor John just said if there's a significant other or a spouse, to meet them up on stage. So I went up on stage.
And when I went up the stairs, it was like I was going into another dimension. When I went up on there, it was like I was in the light of glory. When I closed my eyes, it was like as if the presence of the Lord and the throne of God was hovering just above. And it was brightness, bright light all around, piercing light. And as Pastor John moved down the line, when he touched me, I saw a fierce, huge angel. I could only see at first just the face because he was big, he was large, and his eyes were very piercing, like gold fire. And as I backed away till he could come into frame, he was very large, glowing as if the color of ruby, like deep red fire. And he was fearsome to look upon. He wasn't like an angel that people see in books or that they see in sculptures or that they see these little angels flying around. No, this angel was no joke. It was fierce to look upon.
Pastor John just blessed me to open my eyes to be able to see my angel. After he took his hands off my face, I saw geometric shapes, and then I was going through a tunnel, and I saw the hand of my angel reach out to me, and I heard him say, "Take my hand and follow me."
It just blows my mind that the longer I keep following, the more encounters that I have, the deeper things of God begin to open up. And I'm starting to understand more of a picture of the realms of heaven and how serious this really is. I'm just grateful. Just grateful to be a part of what the Lord is doing. Just grateful to be a part of this move of God in this generation. And I know I haven't even seen the half of it. This is just the peak. It's gonna open up and develop even more as I get back to the States. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, if you have a hunger in your spirit to serve the Lord, if there's ever been anything in you that's been drawn to the Lord, you gotta connect to this altar. Because I haven't heard this preached, I haven't heard this spoken, I haven't heard this prophesied anywhere before. This is the place. So connect yourselves.
The tribe of Enoch, the nation of fire, presents Global Roar for All Nations with the Bondservant of Christ, John.
Roar for your nation!
Join Pastor John Anosike to war for nations. Every country must be represented. Register now and be part of the Roar for Nations with Pastor John Anosike by scanning the QR code on the screen. Date: Saturday, the 7th of December, 2024. Time: 6 p.m. Central African Time. Venue: 284 Voortrekker Road, Maitland, Cape Town, South Africa.
We are war! See you in the realms. Ezekiel,